Hi, this is Erica, Vixen, Gavin, coming to you along with Chuck and Ed on TV Confidential. Here we go.
Ed Robertson welcoming you to this week's edition of TV Confidential, radio talk show about television that will welcome Hal Eisner in our second hour. Hal Eisner, the multiple award-winning broadcast journalist whose calm, compassionate demeanor served him well throughout his 58-year career in broadcasting, including 43 years in television, whether covering such major news stories as the trials of O.J. Simpson and Michael Jackson, or other more local stories that directly impacted the community of Los Angeles. Hal's memoir not only tells his story, but the stories of the many people known and unknown behind the scenes of those major news stories. It also documents Hal's brush with death in March 2021 after being struck by a drunk driver while covering a story in Hollywood. Hal Eisner will join us in our second hour. We hope you stay tuned for that. In the meantime, Chuck Harter is with us as we begin our first hour by bringing you part two of a conversation that began last week with Harvey Lisberg. Harvey Lisberg, the legendary music manager who began his career as an accountant, but whose life changed forever in 1963 when he first heard the Beatles' Please, Please Me on the radio and realized that he could be Manchester's answer to Brian Epstein. In the course of the next year, Harvey's ear for music, his knack for numbers, and his willingness to take chances transformed a local group then known as Herman and the Hermits into the international phenomenon Herman's Hermits. Harvey's memoir, I'm Into Something Good, by Life Managing 10cc, Herman's Hermits, and many more available wherever books are sold through Omnibus Press, as well as Amazon.com. Chuck.com. Chuck?
Did the Hermits not tour America in 68, 9, and 70? Did they give up on the American market? Because it seems like
MGM gave up on them.
And what was that? Why?
Didn't fulfill their commitment because they weren't having hits.
They were having hits in Europe at that time.
Yes, but in America they weren't having hits. And then we had a deal where we had to supply so many songs, and we weren't going to let them out of the contract by saying, you haven't delivered us the product. Mm-hmm. So the album you've got's probably got 20 or 30 tracks that the boys all did of other people's material at Strawberry Studio, and we delivered to EMI 66 tracks, whatever had to be done to complete and then they sued them, and then they won in court eventually in 20-something or other.
Is that why the Blaze album came out in 67 and there were no further albums? There are no albums in 68 and 69 and 70.
Because, there was a lead, that was it. They didn't want to know.
That's funny because
it was MGM.
There's a documentary on Mickey Most, and he's got Peter in the studio recording a track, and he says, this is going to be for the Sunshine Girl album, but there never was a Sunshine Girl album. Was that all litigation?
Was a big hit in England. Was it a hit?
Semi, but is that why there were no?
Two in England, I think.
Is that why there were no later albums? It was litigation, or were they just nobody was interested?
Peter split from wanted to go on his own, so I don't know when that happened.
That's 70.
That's 1970. So you're talking about between 68 and 70, where I think we had records in England but not America. I think Lady Barbara was
singles. But no albums.
No. Well, we were never an album act in England, really.
And because they weren't touring America, there was no call in America for Herman's Hermits albums. Was that it? Because it's just weird. You've got albums coming out through 67 and Blaze, and then nothing.
The boys went into cabaret. I can't really... I don't really remember, which doesn't make sense to me, really. I know that once things dried up, America, they just didn't want any more product. They wouldn't put anything out.
Wow.
And, I don't even know if Oh You Pretty Thing, was that put out in America? Because that was the first track that Peter did on his own.
It barely.
A David Bowie track.
Barely. It was a British hit.
there was a big hit in there, and it was David Bowie, before David Bowie was known.
Right, he was a writer.
On David Bowie's first album, Oh You Pretty Thing. So, you know, I mean, I think there's the gap. I think there wasn't a split between Herman's Hermits and Herman Peter at the time, but they were drifting apart. Peter wanted to be an all-round entertainer that played the Palladium. The band were wanted more of the. I think something happened at the Broad Command performance that really sparked a real bad feeling. I don't think they met the royal family, the group that Peter did. Something
That's
like
true.
That was awful.
And
I think that was the last straw, but I think that was 69.
That was 70.
That was 70 as well.
And looking at the performance, Harvey, that you have about 5 minutes of band doing two of the last hits, and then it's 10 minutes of he's a cabaret star, and they're dancing behind him, looking really fake smiles.
Were earning their money, you see.
But it's no band anymore. Yeah. It's the Peter show.
It's Peter and the Hermits.
Well, that's what happened. I mean, it wasn't my doing, but no, it was. That's what Peter wanted, and I think he was right in a way to split, because it wasn't going anywhere. It certainly wasn't going anywhere in America, and it was drifting in England.
It was.
I know You Pretty Thing wasn't as big as it should have been. And he did another track called Lady Barbara, I think, afterwards, and that was, you could see it going down, and I think Peter thought, right, I'm off to America, I'm going to be a VJ star, and he did it himself. He went to America. I split with him, I think, in 1973, which was amicable. There was no hassle or anything. There was no problem. We just had a wonderful relationship, and I speak to him daily now. I mean, he's performing now. He's a fabulous entertainer, and he's polished now, and he's got his patter. And I admire him. He does a lot of work with his fans all the day. He's on, podcasts with his fans or talking to his fans in his fan club. And he's very responsible. He's a great entertainer.
I'm Into Something Good, My Life Managing 10cc, Herman's Hermits, and many more available wherever books are sold through Omnibus Press as well as Amazon.com. Chuck?
Oh You Pretty Things comes out in 71 in England, and it's a hit. But for the next 3-4 years and singles, nothing. Peter couldn't get any more hits. Why do you think that happened? Had Herman burned out or something?
I think the whole market had changed by then. Everything was into groups that wrote their own material, that had grassroots following. It was a different ball game then. It was not the same. It wasn't. The 60s was the time when everybody had a new song, whether it was the Mamas and Papas or, Wayne Fontana and the Mindbenders or the Manfred Man. There were a million groups, but after that, the Beatles had stopped in 69, so everything had changed.
Well, and also he was growing up. If you see Peter at 22, he's cute, but he looks like a young David Essex or something, but he wasn't that guy anymore. Yeah. And you see the last clips with the band on British TV, and he's right up front selling it, and they're kind of in the background, okay, and you could see it.
I mean, there was divisions, There was.
Did they talk to you about it? Did the band say anything like, "Hey, the ship's sinking, Harvey. What's going on?" Or did they just shut up and do it?
No, I think everybody. You couldn't complain at the run they had.
Yeah.
There's no way. I mean, they made a fortune.
So.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think most of them invested it carefully. I don't think. It wasn't a question. Nobody was skint. How all the other people are saying. It's just. It was the end of a story.
Yeah.
I can't really. Why do any acts lose their popularity? I don't know. I mean, maybe they're overexposed or something. I don't know. I mean, could they go on without Mickey delivering them hits?
No, obviously.
Their own songwriting wasn't allowed to develop.
And it wasn't good enough. How much did the Monkees' success affect Herman's Hermits' success?
Nil.
Really? They didn't become the new fave pinups, and Herman was shut aside?
No, they had TV. I mean, you can't, it's like comparing a Rolls Royce with Morris Minor.
Yeah.
If you've got a TV show and you're popular, you can be the worst band in the world. It doesn't matter. You'll have such a following. You've got an automatic exposure. Peter had a show like the Monkees did on TV. Donny Kirshner had said to Peter, well, would you come on every... But Donny Kirshner didn't want to do that. He wanted to develop a band from nowhere.
Mm-hmm. And control everything.
Yeah.
And he did. And I went to his house, and I was sitting, I went for dinner at Donny Kirshner's house, and he said, and he loved my ears. He liked the fact that because I was so involved with so many hits that he thought I was...
He said you had the golden ear.
Yeah, I did have... it was one of the things that... I don't want to sound big-headed about it, but I could tell it here. It was just one of those things.
I know.
My record, I know it's...
Yeah.
So
him saying that you had the golden ear, that's quite a compliment, because everyone said Kirshner had the golden ear.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
But he and Neil Sedaka hated Is This the Way to Amarillo? They just laughed. They wouldn't give me they wouldn't even send it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to beg to get a demo of this bloody thing. And then it's number one of the biggest record in 2004. Mm-hmm. But, anyhow, so I'm sitting there with Tony Christie. I wanted to hear this song. So Neil Diamond comes down. I didn't know him from Adam. Nobody had heard of him. Gets the guitar out and starts playing the Daydream Believer. What do you think of that, Harvey? I said, you've no problems with that one. That's a smash. And that was it. And then Carol Bayer-Sager came down, who I'd never heard of. And she started playing something. It was like I was sitting in this, if I could see the future. It was two huge, probably the biggest songwriters of the century, playing demos to me. It was really, and I loved it, because I just loved the music.
Well, when you left Peter in 73, as you said, you parted amicably. In those few years after the breakup, did you still handle the Hermits with a new singer, or did that end?
I was involved in the first track they put out, which is called She's a Lady, which I think should have been a hit.
Yeah.
And that failed, so in that stage I had Tony Christie I was busy with, and Tony Christie was really big, huge in England, huge. And so I was with other acts, and I'd actually gone in partnership in 1964 or 5 with Danny Batesh, which is Kennedy Street Enterprises. So I put all my income from that in there, and we had this huge corporation which handled many acts. So it was like the Hermits would have been handled by the agency,
I see.
Presumably. But they got nowhere. It was a shame. That first record was the one. That should have been the hit, and it wasn't. And I think I probably lost a bit of enthusiasm. And Peter wasn't doing well either.
He wasn't. It was so weird. He came out gangbusters with Oh You Pretty Things, and then the next 4 or 5 singles bombed. Nothing. And there was still a market for pretty boy pop singers in the early 70s in England.
Never underestimate the stupidity of the British public.
Well, pick up a newspaper and you can see it.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode.
Hi, this is Melissa Manchester, and you lucky people, are listening to TV Confidential.
Harvey Lisberg is with us via Zoom. Harvey Lisberg, legendary music manager and the mastermind behind such iconic artists as 10cc, Tony Christie, and Herman's Hermits. Harvey's memoir, I'm Into Something Good, My Life Managing 10cc, Herman's Hermits, and many more, available wherever books are sold through Omnibus Press as well as Amazon.com. Chuck?
Well, let me ask you this, Harvey. Mickey Most was obviously a very arrogant fellow, as we know, an egomaniac. In a documentary on Herman's Hermits, which they all participated in except for Leck, at the end of it, they ask Mickey, so Mickey, do you ever listen to any of the Herman's Hermits records? No, listen to what he said. Do you ever listen to any of the Herman's Hermits record? He says, well, if I ever nicely, no, I don't listen to them. Dismissive as if they were nothing.
That's right.
But they're great records. So that's his ego.
I was really pissed off at that.
It was rude. I couldn't believe it.
As well. I really thought that was very insensitive. Put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, because whatever Herman's Hermits were, they'd helped him to build his empire.
Mm-hmm. And they were really good
just
records.
Keep your mouth shut. Just say, no, well, I don't really listen to that sort of music. But the way he said it,
was nasty.
Like he was putting it down.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's funny, Harvey. There still is, or I guess has been, a stigma against Herman's Hermits as being lightweight or silly or whatever. Here's another example. The 3 Led Zeppelin guys were getting an award somewhere. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. So Jimmy Page talks, Robert Plant talks, and he says, oh, Plant on the mic. Now we're going to hear from John Paul Jones. And as he comes up and he says, so how are Herman's Hermits doing? And he was being sarcastic.
He resented the fact that John Paul Jones is a genius.
Oh, he is, but it was a put down again of the Hermits as being fluff.
Arrangements that would Jimmy Page couldn't do in a million years. So there's probably a bit of musical jealousy there.
Well, Plant's
it was
Plant.
It wasn't the money, because I don't think Mickey would have paid that much. But I think we did an album, or Peter did an album, the Graham Goulman thing. And the music arrangements are all done by John Paul Jones. It's just absolutely brilliant.
Oh, yeah, they are.
And I think it's a snotty remark, but I don't think it's anti-Herman's Hermits. I think it's anti-John Paul Jones.
And John Paul Jones has always said nice things. He said he loved working with them. They were professional. They offered him a place in the band, and he said, no, I'm a session guy.
They were nice boys, you know. And maybe you don't like nice boys. Maybe they've got to be drug-infested idiots.
Well, Led Zeppelin, I mean, that's the case there. Well, the records do hold up, and some of these packages, which we won't see, but anyway, are being put out, and there is a legacy there, much like the Dave Clark 5 for many years were ignored, and now, oh yes, they really were good.
Well,
the
other
records were
thing
good.
You've not mentioned is they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
How
is that possible?
Too lightweight. And that's not true, but the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Part of the British invasion.
But Harvey, here's the deal, sad to say. Jan Wenner is heavily involved with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And anything pop, singles, and fun and teenage isn't real music to them. That's why it took a Tom Hanks to get the Dave Clark 5 in, Amador to get in, to get the Rascals.
Dave Clark 5 should not be in.
No, I realize that, but
I mean, if we're going to have Dave Clark and not Peter Noon, that is just bloody ridiculous.
True, but they have this snobbery.
It's all politics.
It is, and it's not real music like Sting or something like that. But it is rock and roll. It's a shame. It's a real snub.
Well, I don't call Sting real music anyhow. I mean, I don't think I can compare Sting to the Beatles. Come on.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, I think people get ahead of themselves sometimes.
Well, it is a shame. Did you stay in touch with the other Hermits as the years went by?
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, Derek died. I'm still in touch with his wife.
Yeah.
I speak to Keith occasionally. Barry, there's been a kind of a...
Well, that whole thing.
A whole thing which... It happens with everybody I've been involved with for some reason at some stage gets involved in the battle, usually to do with money. But that's really sad. I mean, that's a bit pathetic, really. But I don't really want to discuss that because I don't want to get drawn into that. It's pathetic. That's.
Well, no, it is. But, that's good you stayed in touch with them. But
Harvey Lisberg is with us via Zoom. Harvey Lisberg, legendary music manager and the mastermind behind such iconic artists as 10cc, Tony Christie, and Herman's Hermits. Chuck Harter is with us. We hope you'll stay with us as we continue our conversation with Harvey Lisberg here on TV Confidential.
If you've got an ED problem, now you can get generic or herbal blue pills for as little as $2 a pill from Steelman Pills.
800-932-2613, 800-932-2613.